In this video I wanted to cover dual wielding hammers for the Fencer class. I'm going to create a online room and make it private. I'm going to put it to hardest. I like to test things on hardest online mode private because that's definitely the hardest way to play the game. So if the strategy works on that setting, then usually it'll probably work on other settings. I'm going to select Monster Camp, and pretty much the hammers all give you damage reduction, but the ones that give you the most damage reduction into the 80% and 90% is the Vulcan hammer. So the Vulcan hammer gives you 80%, and then this one's 80%, this one's 90%, and then the final one, the finest hammer, also gives you 90%. So if you're dueling hammers, it depends on the situation. If you're trying to do the highest damage possible, you probably want to do 2 Vulcan hammers, like if you're trying to take out a nest or Hectors really fast. Whereas if you're trying to kill a bunch of enemies, you probably want to do 1 Vulcan hammer and 1 finest hammer, because the finest hammer gives you 120 meter range. It's a lot weaker, but it hits for 120 meters, so you can hit enemies far away from you and also enemies near to you really hard. So it's a good idea to have a mixture if you're doing if you're just killing a lot of enemies. You can also do vibro rollers, dual wield vibro rollers, but they're more for fun rather than for difficult missions, because just the capacity is so low, only 4 and a 2-second reload, and the damage is usually relatively low, and pretty much I'd rather deal 120 meter range from my hammer. I'd rather swing my hammer and have it deal 120 meters in front of me rather than roll through enemies and not sure where I'll end up, or pretty much roll into the enemy, which takes you out of control, which can be dangerous. So pretty much double Vulcan or Vulcan finest, and I'm going to take a spine driver as well to finish out if there's a few enemies left over. But anyway, so pretty much when you do 2 hammers, but you're going to have to claw the controller pretty much. So what you want to do is you'll put your first fingers on L1 and R1, and your middle fingers on L2 and R2. So you're pretty much always holding down the L2 and R2 to charge up your hammers. All you're doing is briefly releasing the trigger just to swing the hammer, and then holding it again so you can continue to charge it in the background. So what I'll do is I'll release 1 hammer, hold it again, and then dash. Release the other hammer, hold it again, dash. Release the other hammer, hold it again, dash. And just keep repeating until you have to reload. Pretty much what you do is when you're reloading, you won't charge it fully. You pretty much just swing it as soon as you can so that you'll keep the 90% damage. Like right now, the Vulcan hammer, I'm going to swing it while it's blue so I keep the 90% damage reduction. You don't want to ever stop swinging the hammers, because it's only when you're swinging that you actually have the damage reduction. And even though you're swinging at a blue charge, you're still getting the damage reduction, so it's worth doing. And pretty much I'm just going to be dashing, in like a strafing around the enemy, or just looking for health packs, or just pretty much looking. It's important to look for health packs, because it is kind of difficult to get to the health, to get the items when you're doing 2 hammers, because whenever you're swinging, if the enemies hit you in that swing, they'll push you back, as you can kind of see while I'm playing here. So I have an idea. I see that big health pack, so I know that I'll stay in that area if I'm getting a little low on health, so I can refill. And that's why I like the finest hammer as well, because the finest hammer will pull you forward so that you can kind of use the hammer's momentum forward to get towards an item. So pretty much you'll be watching your reload and just keep an eye on that, and keep an eye out for health packs. And just constantly repeat this. As you can see, that enemy hit me in between hammers, and that kind of hurt because he had no reduction. So I had to be careful when trying to work my way over there to get some health now. And there we go. A little better. But this works good on dragons too. I mean, even though Even though your dragons, you can still hit them when they're on the ground. That's the benefit of the finest hammer. It'll stun them while they're on the ground. So, but like if I was to let go of my hammer, even for a little bit, and oh, you got me. So as soon as you get bitten, you want to make sure to just do a quick swing right away as soon as you can control, so you can get that reduction back up. And then, oh, I missed the health by just a little bit. So pretty much the dragons are they aren't necessarily the worst thing. Ooh, I got killed while I was down in the animation. But yeah, pretty much that's the danger of not having your damage reduction going the whole time. But yeah, this mission can pretty much be soloed with the Fencer if you don't have too many bad instances. Like if I was just trying to do the spine driver catapult and just try and dash around, the enemies are so fast on hardest that you don't really have the time to do that, to actually get away from the dragons. They'll eventually hit you and kill you. But this can be very valuable, especially if you have whether it be lower health people with you, or if you have air raider, you can pretty much be in front and take all the hate of the enemies while they're either dropping strafe plans on you, which is probably one of the better ones to drop because the strafe plane don't really hurt you, and it pretty much can they can throw it right on top of you while you're attacking the enemy. Get some health here. I saw a big one over here. Oh, I didn't see. I wasn't watching my reload. I almost died right there. You always want to make sure you have so it can be kind of challenging to get the health back sometimes because of the bounce around effect, but yeah, it's nice that the enemies will get pushed back if they're trying to bite you as well while you're in the hammer swing animation as well. So but yeah, pretty much you can just survive this way because of the damage reduction and then all the health drops that are around you because all the kills. I'm going to show another mission here. It's also very good for taking out holes, of course. Looks like I don't. Yeah, looks like I actually have the best two hammers on. It's pretty good. I gotta change my spine driver out though. But yeah, I mean, I would probably prefer having the finest on this one because I'm killing a lot of enemies, but I don't have it open, so I have to do two finest or two Vulcan. But this is a lot quicker damage, of course. I don't know if I'll survive this though because of the fact of the wasps. The wasps are actually the worst because you will never, well not never, but you rarely hit them with the hammers unless they're on the ground, which they don't really do that too much. But yeah, it only took what? Took 5 hammers to kill a hole. And it's a little bit easier, I guess, to keep track of when you need to reload with the hammers because you know you have to do them back to back, where you do 2 quick shots back to back, and where they're charged to blue instead of red. It is negative in the fact that you have to wait for your you have to lose 2 swings of your hammer damage-wise because of the reload, but you have to do it to survive. So, but it's a little easier to keep track. But yeah, with all this damage reduction, it's pretty crazy. The only negative is, as you'll see, it's a little bit tougher to control your movement because the Vulcan hammers are swinging around so long. It takes them so long to swing around that you get pushed around an awful lot with 2 Vulcans. That's the negative of it. But the damage is just crazy. Sometimes you get lost to where you're actually at. I have no idea what got me. There we go. Sometimes it can be beneficial to have an enemy grab you because then you can have some enemies get away from you while you recover a little bit, see a little bit more. But yeah, I'll just swing right away so I keep that damage reduction going. That's why it's actually almost, the lower hammers are almost better, because they don't have that long swing time, and therefore you don't get pushed around so much. Looks like I killed that hole, I can't see it. I'd like to get some health, but I'm not sure where I'm at. But yeah, this is really helpful just to have other people, whether it be sniper in the back, sniping or throwing air raids or whatever else. But yeah, you can survive an awful long time with this. It's getting a little ugly right now. It's hard to see where I'm at. But actually having, especially on the hard difficulty or on normal, when you can finally get the Vulcan hammers unlocked, just the first level Vulcans, dual wielding those, it's pretty hard to die with that setup. It's pretty fun as well. And you get used to this, you know, the charge of the hammers. I hardly even pay attention to if I'm reloaded or not anymore. I'd be afraid to switch to my spine driver to actually try and dash to a health. But yeah, pretty much that's dual wielding hammers. You can also dual wield the blades or the force axes, but problem with is there's no damage reduction on those. They do pierce through enemies, but I'll pretty much cover that on other videos as far as dual wielding other weapons. But yeah, the hammers are really good. I'll even do a quick mission of the Hectors. I think it's 23. Giant robots, yeah. Yeah, I still got the Vulcans, so I don't know if I like 2 Vulcans on this, but we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be fine as long as the machine gun Hectors don't keep pushing you around. That's the biggest thing, especially with the Vulcan hammers. They're just so slow on the spin up, but the damage is so high. And they actually will aim down on you, which also helps, because you can look at that, 2 hits and it kills the Hector. It's crazy. The only negative of 2 hammers is when you have to reload, or when not when you have to reload, when you're actually really in trouble and you need to pretty much get away, you're pretty much in trouble. You just can't get away. I mean, if you're that low of health, you might as well just stay in the 2 hammer stance and hope to keep the damage reduction up and dash to a health kit, because it takes a couple seconds to actually switch to your catapult setup. I mean, it might be worse sometimes, but it can be rough to switch out of the double hammer setup. That's the only negative of it, especially when you're in the thick of all the enemies. But usually I will have a catapult setup on my second setup, because... But I mean, this is super simple because of the damage reduction. They just hardly stand any chance. If you can get close to them, they're dead. I mean, so fast, it's ridiculous. So yeah, it works on quite a few different setups. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at it, because I didn't ever use this setup for quite a while, and I used to think that it was not a very viable setup. But it's mainly against golds, and even sometimes silvers, but mainly golds. If there's golds on a mission, you're not going to be able to usually do 2 hammers unless you are playing on Inferno and have excessive amounts of health, which therefore you're pretty much playing on easy. So as long as there's no golds in the mission, you can pretty much use the double hammer setup for the most part. A lot of silvers can be rough too, but it's very useful, very strong. I definitely encourage you to give it a try. So I think that was pretty much everything I cover. Usually I'll for my second setup, I'll take something that's at least gives me some kind of dashing ability, whether it be a catapult setup, which I covered dash canceling, animation canceling on another video, but I'll usually use a catapult setup or a shield or something to let me move fast, because losing your ability to move is pretty bad in this game. So, alright, thanks for watching.